Welcome to the Ad Nauseam podcast, where classical gourmands everywhere can finally get their fill. Join us for a delectable discussion of Greco-Roman civilization stretching from the Minoans and Mycenaeans through the Renaissance and right down to the present. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here are your hosts, Dr. David Noe and Dr. Jeff Winkle.
Welcome, Ad Nauseam listeners, to episode 196 of our little podcast. As always, my name is Dr. David C. Noe. I'm here in the vomitorium. Vomitorium Central, perhaps our final resting spot, so to speak.
Oh, that's pretty macabre.
Macabre, I think you mean. After some migratory podcasting. And I'm here with my good friend and fabulous co-host, the ever affable, ever amiable, seldom punctual, Dr. Jeffrey T. Winkle. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm feeling good, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Actually, You're typically early.
Yes.
I see you strolling in here to the vomitorium, and I'm scrambling around like when I go to the Aldi grocery store.
Yeah.
You ever go to Aldi?
I do go to Aldi. Yes, actually, pretty much every week.
Really?
Yes, exactly.
Is it a daily trip?
No, it's a Saturday morning ritual.
Because if you rearrange the letters of Aldi and add a Y,
you got daily.
You got daily. That's right. So you just showed me, as long as we're digressing, you just showed me the wonderful little device on your keychain. What is that?
Oh, it's a little thing that holds my Aldi quarter.
Aldi quarter?
Right.
Tell us more.
Well, I mean, for a long time, I would go to Aldi, and I'd always forget, you got to put the quarter in to get the cart out of the corral.
Why do they keep such a close watch on their shopping carts?
It's loss prevention.
I see. Just because you give it a fancy name doesn't mean that it's persuasive.
Well, I guess I maybe, but I got so frustrated in forgetting that. So you got two choices then.
Right.
You can either stand outside and kind of beg.
Okay.
And say, hey, do you mind? Can I use your cart?
You mean the person who comes out?
Comes out and said, basically, can you lend me a quarter?
They're surrendering their quarter.
Right. Or,
brother, can you spare a dimone?
Or you just leave and you go to the more expensive store across the street. And that's usually what I did.
There's a third option.
There is?
Yes.
What is that?
That's my approach to Aldi.
Yeah?
I go in and I think, I only need a couple items.
Oh, no.
So I stiff arm the cart.
Yeah.
Right? I do my Heisman move on the cart.
Yep.
And then as I wander around the store with all its fabulous low prices, I begin to accumulate many items. So I have something under each arm, something between my knees, and then I shuffled toward the front where the conveyor belt is.
Right.
And at that point, it's a loss.
Yeah.
So you solved that.
I solved that by having this little kind of leather thing on my keychain, where I just keep the quarter. So, because people who know, you go to Aldi, you put your quarter in, you get the cart, and then when you return the cart to the corral, you get your quarter back.
So is this like the headband that was wrapped around the athlete Milo? And if you flex, you break the little leather strap on your keychain?
No, it's much more durable than the Milo strap. Yes.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So you're doing well. What does the T stand for?
The T in Jeffrey T. Winkle.
Yes.
This week it stands for tuition.
Tuition?
Yes.
Do tell.
Well, I mean, we are back to Marrou.
What?
The book about kind of ancient education. So tuition.
Right.
The fee you pay for one's education.
Got it.
Seems like a good one. Now, David C. Noe, how about you?
Yeah, I think the C stands for curriculum. Curriculum. Because
Also,
again, it's an education themed episode. Now the dear patient listener is wondering, when are they going to say goodbye to that gag of what their middle names stand for?
Oh, not for a long time.
Not for a long time. But the answer is, as soon as we find a better one.
That's right.
We're never going to grow tired of it.
No. Exactly.
So we're back on Marrou, right? Who I believe starred in a 1980s sitcom. I think it was Marrou McClanahan, I believe.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this.
So there's a deep cut.
That is a deep cut, exactly.
Yes, Blanche, I think.
Yes,
was the name.
Yeah, wow.
Marrou McClanahan. It was sometime after he wrote this volume.
So this is kind of in his twilight years.
That's
this is kind of a second career for him.
Yeah,
he played Blanche on The Golden Girls.
I think that's right. Devereaux.
I'm over here just shocked that you actually know these details about the Golden Girls.
What can I say? Estelle Getty, B. Arthur,
and Betty White.
Oh, Betty White's still kicking, isn't she?
I want to say she died recently.
We're setting ourselves up for a corrigendum.
So she was like 99 or 100. I think she did pass away.
We have an almost corrigendum coming up, but first, Jeff, let's have the shout out.
Yes, this one. This is really interesting. It starts off, it says, hey, David and Jeff, hey, from a Chilean listener all the way up in Canada.
Yes, this is our friend Estella. Astella, last initial M. Astella M.
Astella M. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So give us more, please.
Well, before I go on, this I mean, talk about a deep cut.
Yeah.
There's a band that I like called Eddie from Ohio.
Okay.
And they have kind of a semi-comedy song called Tommy the Connexican. And about this guy,
Tommy the Connexican.
Yes, who's kind of, his life is complicated by the fact that he has dual Canadian and Mexican citizenship.
That's interesting.
And so his two home countries are divided by the U.S.
Oh, that's terrible.
So we have our Chilean listener up in Canada.
Yes, Estella
is almost a Connexican.
Now, this is a charming individual, so I hope that your deep cuttery there wasn't in any way intended to be pejorative.
Of course not, right?
Okay.
I was just saying it reminded me of this stupid song. That's
yes. Our friend Estella probably celebrates Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yes. Well,
which is coming up.
Right around this time of year, right?
And you know what the Canadians are thankful for?
What's that?
Not being American.
Exactly. It's the first on their list every time around, right?
On with the shout out.
Yes. I'm someone who only recently discovered the podcast, and I'm so incredibly glad that I did. Listening to your discussions has been wonderful and has really motivated me to continue working on my Greek and Latin.
Oh, that's music to my ears.
Fantastic. Yes. She continues, it's my hope to one day go back to university to study classics, but for now, I will continue to delight in reading them, and I definitely look forward to giving Plato another read with this wonderful copy. Thank you so much for both the book and for hosting such an amazing podcast.
Isn't that nice?
That's really, really nice.
That really makes me feel good. So Estella is the winner of the Plato Reader. And I would say if we give every potential listener a book, we could grow our audience dramatically.
Indeed, we could. It would also be a
expensive proposition.
Costs a lot of money. Right?
That's all right. We got sponsors. I say that's their problem.
Yes.
Anyway, indeed, there was once a pastor who put his book on the New York Times bestseller list. Did you know about this?
No.
We can call this guy Mark.
Okay.
And he did it, this is a true story, by using church donations to buy copies of his own book.
What?
Yeah, if you sell more than 100,000 copies, it goes on the New York Times bestseller list. So he had this...
He was skimming off the top?
I don't know, not skimming off the top. They just dumped it into bushel baskets and bought copies of the book.
Okay.
And eventually it was found out.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And speaking of Mark, guys named Mark, here is an embryonic corrigendum.
Ooh, okay.
So we could say we have this one brewing from a new guy, whom we will call Mark because that's his name.
All right.
And we're still dealing with this corrigendum, but he was, in his correspondence, very insistent that he not be the distant Ron from Australia. Or the local Will.
We got Lazy Steve, local Will, and distant Ron.
Distant Ron, and now we have, I don't know, embryonic Mark.
Embryonic Mark.
He's brewing up a corrigendum, right?
Yeah.
He went all the way back to episodes 174 and 175.
Oh, man. Okay.
The ones that were on lactantius intolerance.
Oh, the milkman.
That's right. The milkman cometh, the milkman goeth.
Okay. Well, what did we screw up?
Well, he spotted a couple items in there that we have to send to our research team because he may be right about this. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to do some digging this week or assign it to a lackey. And then after that, we'll get back to the listener and we'll keep them posted on this developing story.
Gotcha. So we're not going to address...
No, because he might be wrong.
Okay. All right.
But if he's right, then he'll join the ranks of the Rons and the Wills. We'll have to add a Mark.
Man, embryonic Mark.
That's right.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so I would say the theme of this one, Marrou, we're on to part 17, but it's part 2 of the book, and it's chapter 9. So the book's divided up into different parts. Now, you might be thinking, more Marrou? Listener, let me tell you, you should be glad that we're doing the work for you. You don't have to slug through this book, right? It's got brilliant, fascinating passages, but it takes a lot of work, so we're doing the hard work for you. Part 1, the origins of classical education from Homer to Isocrates. Part 2, classical education in the Hellenistic Age. So that's where we are. We are in the Hellenistic Age, and we're in chapter 9, which is on higher education. Higher education, the lesser forms.
Yes.
Now, Jeff, after we wrap up part 2, part 3 is classical education and Rome. And in fact, that's the final part.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We're getting towards the end.
Until we get to the epilogue. Well, I don't know. This chapter ends on page 194.
Yeah.
Do you want to know how many additional pages there are?
I hesitate to ask, but I'm going to ask anyway. How many?
Okay. Well, including the analytical index, 466.
Oh, my goodness.
So let's just say we got a long way to go before we sleep tonight.
Yes. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All right.
Yep.
So I would say the theme of this chapter, generally speaking, would be nihil novi sub sola, right?
Yes. Nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new under the sun. Yeah. I was really struck in reading this thanks in part to Marrou's incredible snark at how little things have changed.
Yes.
The way he describes education higher ed, about which we know a thing or two, could be describing today's university.
That's exactly the same thing that struck me as well.
And he pointed this out at several places brilliantly.
Right. And so, I mean, he early on in the chapter, he talks about how things are moving towards the lecture room and how I found it particularly kind of fascinating about, he talks about kind of how archaeology shows the development of these large lecture halls that to accommodate this new focus in education. Yeah, it sounds very, very contemporary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think maybe the opening quote, right, the Ope quote, and we hope you like it, should come right from page 186. And I think, Jeff, you should give this to us, please, that initial paragraph.
Yes. As is only natural, the most advanced stages of education were less uniform than the lower. The latter supplied a general foundation, and above this arose several rival higher stages that suited different vocations and attracted young students in varying degrees. One of the first forms that we were able to study was found within the ephebia. That's what kind of launches the chapter.
That's correct. Yep. So, what do you think about this claim, though? He says, Marrou claims it's natural that advanced stages of education were less uniform than the lower.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about my own experience, and I would like you to think, aloud about yours.
Yeah.
Were the lower stages of education uniform? Like the difference between little Jeffy Winkle out there in Jenison in first grade and me out in Ionia County, not much difference.
Yeah.
But then as you grow up through the stages, the more advanced your education, the less consistent?
I mean, I think broadly, I would agree with Marrou. I mean, the way I took that is that at the higher ranks of education, the higher you go, the more specialized becomes your education and more diffuse. That's what I took that to mean. I was focusing more on kind of the latter half than thinking about how similar my first grade experience would have been to yours.
Yes.
I mean, do you agree with the general statement? Or?
I think if we think of it in terms of specialization, probably yes. However, all of the external forms, if not the content of higher ed, seem pretty streamlined, right?
Yeah.
If you go to the local Grand Valley or to GRCC where you teach, or Calvin where we both used to teach, you're going to find different shaped and colored buildings. But students, go into class, it seems like there's a lot of uniformity.
Are you talking like the experience of being in the classroom?
The externalities, right? Here's your syllabus.
Right.
This is where you're going to try to sit in the same spot every time. Those things are all going to be really similar, irrespective of the institution.
Yeah. I mean, this is not a tangent that I particularly want to run off on, but my colleagues and I are having lots of conversations about how AI is going to change. Everything, and including even how you kind of set up your classroom and kind of how you run your classroom, what you expect from your students. And so it'll be curious to kind of see if that just becomes another impetus to a new kind of uniformity. Yeah.
Probably so.
Yep.
So the first section then in the chapter, page 186, is the ephebes general culture. Now, it could be, Jeff, there are some listeners who haven't really consumed the previous 15 episodes or 16 of Marrou.
Well, they better get on it.
So they want to know, what's an ephebe?
Well, we're talking about a young man's education, and usually an upper class, kind of wealthier young man's education.
So this would be something like the ages of 15 to 20 or so?
Yeah, I think kind of what we would kind of roughly correlate to secondary education.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it makes you uncomfortable, you get a case of the ephebe-jeebies. Is that?
Wow. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, let's talk about this. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time in kind of reviewing the back catalog.
Don't want to review.
But in this chapter, Marrou mentions that yes, there is this move towards kind of the lecture hall,
correct,
and then also kind of
away from the military-focused aspects of the rival city-states.
Yes.
Because the extraordinary success of Alexander and then those who followed him pushed all that off the stage.
Right.
There's no more competition between Corinth, Athens, and Sparta for military hegemony.
Right.
So now we're going to go to the schools and see who can outshine one another that way.
Yes. Yeah. And before we get into this further, I think we talked about this on previous Marrou episodes. I think it's just always a note of caution is that if you look at a lot of the evidence that Marrou uses, a lot of it is very fragmentary. I mean, he's upfront about this, and so trying to kind of connect dots and trying to understand how similar experiences were across the Greek landscape, across the Mediterranean, is very difficult to say. Yeah.
So for sure, we have to take it with a grain of salt, like you say. But his spade work is extraordinary.
It's extraordinary.
At the bottom of page 187, for example, I count 12 different citations, right? He's going deep into the inscriptionary evidence and the literature in order to try to give this some real solid footing.
Yeah. That's amazing. I was actually clicking through. They have the online database of the IG, the Greek inscriptions, and Marrou was working with. He was flipping pages.
That's right, and sometimes just looking at photos.
Right, exactly.
The Inscriptiones Graecae Jeff's referring to. So, on the previous page, 186, we have this great quote: "The physical side remained essential, as we have seen, but it was no longer everything. The rich young men who went to the college wanted to be properly prepared for the life of the fashionable society to which they belonged." That's why I went to college, right? "And the cultivation of the mind could no longer be left out. And so along with the sport, there grew up lessons, lectures, and auditions, scholae, epideixes, and acroaces." So those are the three categories, right? You got to take your lessons, you got to attend the fancy lectures, and then you have to go to your auditions, which is, the musical times where you'd listen and appreciate.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, speaking of these things kind of ringing in a contemporary fashion, I think there's definitely kind of that aspect of getting a college education is yes, there's the discussion about the kind of job you want to land after this, but there is kind of this notion of that if you have a college degree, then you are kind of above this line in society, right?
I think so. I was just reading the Wall Street Journal, just a little selection of it, got a free copy, and it was the annual ranking of institutions.
Yeah.
And of course, Stanford finished right at the top.
Number one?
Yes.
Okay.
But their criteria for deciding this, I mean, it's a set of criteria about which a lot of people might complain, but at least they're straightforward. It is how much more money would you earn for having gone to that school than if you did not.
Right.
And so they surveyed alums and professors and so forth, and Stanford finished the highest. And but then there's Ivy League schools. Then there are some state schools that finished in there as well. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it kind of reinforced, to my mind, the old saw that the college you graduate from, right, has more to do with your earnings than what you learned while there.
Yes.
Because what you're really doing is creating a set of networks.
Yes.
It's not to say that you don't learn anything there, but it's more as though the getting into the school is the indication of your success.
Yes.
More than what you get out of it.
Yes, indeed. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah.
So as Marrou goes on, he says that there needed to be a kind of architecture to match this new direction in education.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is he talks about how these indoor theaters, these odia were being built, and he mentions ones in Pergamum and Ephesus and Epidaurus. And the Epidaurus one really caught my eye. I was just there a few months ago with a bunch of students, and there is this strange building that the mystery of it was not solved until I read this. Not that I had been pursuing this, but its first form was a large palestra. It was a wrestling arena. And then the Romans came along, and the way they refurbished it is right in the middle square where you imagine athletes would be training.
Right.
They built this theater. Huh. And so this Odia kind of takes up the place of where the gymnasium was.
Right.
And that's exactly what Marrou was talking about. He talks about how the lecture hall becomes an extension of the wrestling ground.
Exactly.
And that's at Epidaurus. You see that right before your very eyes.
Absolutely. And by the way, you're visiting there, right, at Epidaurus, and then mentioning it. That's what we call in the business an archaeological flex, right?
Is that what that is?
It's an archiflex.
It's archiflex?
Yeah. Well, I saw yet another ancient stone and I didn't vomit. So that's your archiflex.
So if you can look at these things without puking, that's a flex?
If you see enough of them.
Enough of them. Gotcha.
You remember our famous student at Eleusis.
I do.
So says Marrou, these, the lectures, the auditions, and the lessons took place in the gymnasium itself, in a room built in the form of an exedra. What Vitruvius, famous Roman architect, called the ephebium. Well, there you go. There's your ephebium, right? Yep. It seems like it's halfway between a rompus room and a home theater.
Yeah, I would say that's about right.
Because the home theater, right, you try to recreate the space in the main theater without the price of admission and the amount of trash on the floor.
Exactly. And are you going to be limited by space as well?
Yes.
Yep.
So you have these massive, comfortable chairs, and you try to make the sound good, right?
Yes. Cup holders.
Maybe make one of your children play usher until the... well, they don't have ushers at theaters anymore. But
right.
Ticket taker.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like that, but then it's a cross between that, where you're viewing, and maybe like the rumpus room, where you can play some snooker, or...
Yes.
Is it snook?
I think it's snooker. You got that right. Yeah,
the mini pool.
Yes,
right?
yes. Was that with the one with the bumpers, or is that
I don't remember.
Bumper pool?
I get them confused. So that's the ephebium. They designed a special structure, says Vitruvius, to undertake this sort of instruction.
Yeah. Now he also goes on to talk about the appearance of these wandering academics.
That's right.
Right, and kind of coming through town and sticking around for a performance or for a lecture before moving on.
That's right. And he talks about the syllabus.
Yeah.
Right? The formation of the syllabus. So much of this goes right back to the Hellenistic era. So he says at the top of 187, they had a very wide syllabus, and it can only be described as advanced, in the sense that the ephebes had gotten beyond secondary school age and went to the ephebia after they had finished their secondary schooling. For one of the purposes of these lectures was to complete the literary culture which was absolutely central in Hellenistic secondary school education. So, like you said, Jeff, there were these grammatikoi, teachers of letters, who taught the classics in Delphi, Priene, and Eretria. And they had a specific name, in fact. They were called a Homerikos Philologos, right? A Homeric lover of words.
Right.
So I was really struck by this, because one of the recurring themes on this program has been that in philosophical and theological terms, Plato is the watershed moment, right? That prior to Plato, Homer is so regnant in terms of ethics and morality and theology and so forth.
Yeah.
And then Plato disrupts that. The Stoics do as well, and then the rise of Christianity, I think, shifts the landscape considerably.
Yeah.
But Homer never leaves as a source of entertainment and instruction.
Yeah.
You might say, for the majority of people, in non-theological terms.
Yes.
What did you make of that?
It struck me as being a part of, as the ancient world Hellenizes, a lot of this, the things around education start to become more fragmentary. Right. And so I think a lot of it struck me a lot of kind of what is old is new again.
Yes.
Even these wandering teachers strikes me a lot of what we encounter when Plato talks about the sophists, right? And so it doesn't surprise me then that maybe Homer kind of regains maybe a kind of pride of place.
Absolutely.
In all of this. Yeah.
And they just kind of seem to ignore a lot of the now I should say maybe people generally who weren't interested in philosophy and theology, they remained Homeric in their commitment to the traditional pantheon.
Yeah.
But even if they were, I guess, a little more skeptical about that because of Plato and his successors, they still latched on to Homer strongly for entertainment and instruction generally.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Now, what are your feelings on the strolling lecturer?
Well, before we get to that, I want to mention what Marrou identifies as the two most important subjects.
Okay, yeah.
He says these were most typical of advanced education, philosophy and rhetoric. So, nothing changes? Do you think of your instruction as philosophical or rhetorical in nature? I'm guessing you don't, because those aren't the titles of the courses, and you're not really trying to teach to turn your students into philosophers or public speakers, right?
No, but I would say that both of those are elements of the courses that I teach.
Right.
I usually, for most of my classes, I test my students on some kind of oral breakdown, oral argument. And so, there's philosophy, there's rhetoric kind of embedded into it, but I don't see that my role is kind of turning my students into philosophers. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Jeff, you wanted to talk about the strolling lecturers.
Yeah.
So could you read that portion near the bottom of 187 that deals with this?
Yes. So Marrou writes, nothing is more characteristic of Hellenistic civilization than this category that included wandering poets, artists, philosophers, writers, and specialists in hygiene.
Hold on.
Wandering
specialists in hygiene?
Yeah, I don't know. These guys walking around with deodorant samples.
Just the other day, I was standing in the bathroom and thinking, after all these years, I really don't know how to brush my teeth. And I looked out the window, and there came a guy down the sidewalk with a satchel full of, I don't know, Colgate and Oral-B.
And floss.
And floss.
Yeah.
What do they call that? String, right? String. Did you push string? On your mouth stones?
Right.
Thank you, Nathan Pyle.
Yeah.
And I thought, I bet this guy could teach me proper hygiene.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he just happened to be strolling through the neighborhood.
That is some good luck right there.
Exactly.
Right.
So this is a common, I guess, a common phenomenon in Hellenistic era.
Apparently.
The strolling hygienist.
Yes, Marrou continues that. These guys who went from city to city, from one end of the Greek world to the other, armed with fine speeches and floss. And sure of an enthusiastic reception.
That's right.
Right. So they go from place to place and give lectures and become part of the curricula.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last episode where I mentioned going to the dentist?
I do remember that.
Yeah,
yes.
So this is once again a digression.
Yeah.
At one point, the hygienist, who was not strolling, asked me if I could hold the little suction thing.
Yeah.
And I was a little put off.
Why was that?
Put out. But I didn't sign up for this job.
That's right. You gonna put me to work?
Yes. So, through loads of saliva, I said, I'm not trained on this. And she said, that's fine. You'll do fine.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what happened.
How'd you do? Did you do all right?
I guess I did fine.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have any... anyway.
Yeah.
So the wandering lecturer...
It's a bit
I can understand poetry and philosophy, but hygiene?
Hygiene, that's a little strange, though. But even the term is a little misleading. So, I mean, these guys are wandering from place to place, but when they're lecturing,
right,
they're pretty much stationary,
I think
right?
so,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
It's hard to walk and floss at the same time.
Right.
However, I do think we could find a modern analog in the endless YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, hack your shoe tying.
Yeah.
Right? 5 easy steps, to not miss a step. Something like that. So I would say the YouTube videos on all these trivial things.
I was thinking the same thing. Actually, I made a note of it as it reminded me of a little bit higher brow than hacking your shoelaces. But like you see these things for take my master class.
Oh yeah,
and so
I have one of those. What are you talking about? Master classes in Latin and Greek.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it struck me as that there's your modern. You're wandering digitally.
It takes place outside the classroom.
Yeah.
So I would say those, and then also podcasts.
Yes, yeah, without a doubt.
People, they tune into those, and it's supposed to be a mix of instruction and entertainment. Right?
Yeah, kind of like we're trying to do.
Well,
here.
yeah, that's a little on the nose, Michael. But
didn't you have? Wasn't there a Nietzsche quote that you wanted to share? I like this because I agree with it.
It's very specific. It's a little Nietzsche.
Yeah,
but he says, Friedrich Nietzsche, all truly great thoughts are conceived while walking.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Really?
I know that if I have to do something creative,
right.
if I'm working on a song or writing some fiction,
right.
if I go for a walk...
Refining your floss technique.
Exactly. If I go for a walk and just kind of let my mind wander, invariably I would come up with much better stuff if I'm just kind of sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think really the key is that you've turned off a portion of your brain. So I get the same experience while I'm driving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's motion. No, I think it's turning off a portion of your brain, frees up another portion.
I think I like that a lot too.
That would be my guess.
Yes, but I mean, these lecturers. Maybe they're coming up with their lectures while they're wandering from place to place, and then once they have it, then they'll stop and they'll teach you something.
But they had no Post-it notes. How did they keep track of all this stuff?
I don't know. Just the powers of memory were much greater.
I guess that's it. Aristotle's been out walking again, and there is his chiton, right, covered with Post-it notes. I got to work this into the rhetoric,
Yeah, right.
So bottom of 187, besides these casual visiting lecturers who would often only give one performance...
And then I'm out of here.
That's right. If you didn't learn how to brush your teeth from this one, you're done. There also seem to have been, according to the documents, proper teachers. Okay. These were engaged by the gymnasiarch, often at his own expense, had the same status in the gymnasium as the military instructors. They taught continuously throughout the year. No summer break.
No, wow, man.
Has the NEA heard about this?
My goodness. I mean, so these are your tenured faculty.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Except they don't work year-round. Yeah. If this was really so, then there was a proper system of teaching of a more effective kind than anything that could be supplied by popular lecturers, says Marrou, who just happened to come along.
I wonder if there had to have been some tension between the on-site guys and these guys who just flit in.
Yeah, they just wander in.
Right.
It's like the visiting lecturer, right? The guest lecturer, except not part of the system. So the ephebes had libraries, says Marrou on page 188 as we start to wrap up this section. Who made the cut, Jeff, in order to be included in this list of content for the wandering lecturers.
Yeah. So Marrou mentions this this catalog.
Okay.
Of volumes from, I think it was the Ptolemies in Athens.
That's right.
Which was that was new to me. But this in inscriptions, the catalog of works survives, and so classical poets, Aeschylus, Sophocles, other tragedians, commentaries on them. The comedian Menander was in there. Demosthenes, Hellenicus, philosophical works. Euclides, dialogues, all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah. So what you see there then is really the beginning of the formation of a canon, right? There was already a canon, and of course Homer was the canon, but you could see in the Hellenistic era the formation of an ongoing canon of this is what everyone is most interested in.
Yeah.
So these are the things we have to talk about.
A particularly interesting thing, it reminded me of our fairly recent episode on the Library of Alexandria, where we were talking about not just that library, but libraries elsewhere.
Right.
Marrou talks about it was expectation for incoming students in some of these places is they would take part in producing 100 volumes of books. Or if there was a wealthy donor, they would donate money or and sometimes donate a kind of a pile of texts as well. And so it answers the question of how these libraries grew and interacted with one another.
That's right. It wasn't through ILL.
It was not.
So, says Marrou, this library also had a catalog, part of which remains in an inscription. Classification seems to have been by subject matter. Philosophy, politics, rhetoric. Each of these sections arranged in alphabetical order according to the author's names. So, what is the absolute wasteland of a modern university library?
What is it?
It's the PA section.
Oh,
you remember what's in the PA section?
All the classics.
Classics, right. Organized first by section, then alphabetically by author's last name. So nothing has changed, right? Nothing has changed, it seems to me.
Yep.
The titles which still survive, says Marrou, show that the books were of a high technical standard. Dialogues and political treatises by Demetrius, Hegesias of Magnesia, Theopompus, and 4 volumes on rhetoric by Theodectes of Phocis.
Wow.
So there's a claim made, and perhaps our listeners have heard this, that only 10% of ancient literature survives.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, I think it's accurate, but the number is established by comparing what we have to the titles of what we have.
Right.
So here's a good example. We might have 100 titles, but only listed, but only 10 actual volumes.
Indeed. Yep. So Dave, before we get to our break,
right?
We should talk about how that even though things are moving into the lecture hall, that competitive aspect, the agon of this culture, that does not go away.
This is so interesting to me, and I would say it's maybe the central difference between our pursuit of these things and the ancient pursuit. And I don't know exactly why. Nietzsche, of course, would blame Christianity.
Of course.
He would say the rise of Christianity made everyone disinclined to excellence, right? I don't know if that's true, but we don't think of the classroom as competitive. In fact, you're actively discouraged from doing so. But the Greeks would have thought, that's absurd.
Right.
It's contrary to human nature.
Let me give you just a quick anecdote that illustrates that. So in my myth class, we host a couple of debates.
Okay.
One about the Cyclops episode.
So you try to make it agonistic?
I do.
Good for you.
And so there's a group that will kind of defend Odysseus, and then a group that will kind of take the Cyclops point of view. But when I frame this, when I try to get students to sign up for this, and I describe it as a debate, they don't like it.
They don't like it.
And so it's only when I soften it and say the point of this isn't to see who's to win. This is to set up a good discussion. Then they're okay with it.
Did you give it a different name, like a season of sharing?
I do need to.
Season of sharing. People like the word season.
Yeah, and then be printed on like pastel paper.
That's right. Season of sharing, right? So the bottom of 188, he says, we must be careful not to exaggerate the evidence. Even in the Athens of those days, sport came first in the ephebia's honors lists. Elsewhere, and at all other times in Athens itself, sport was practically the only thing that was competed about. When there were any other competitions, they were moral, not intellectual.
Moral competition?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take, for example, the Ephebic Games instituted in 125 BC by the gymnasiarch Menes in his city of Cestus on the Hellespont, which are typical, says Marrou, of a fair number of cases to be found throughout the Greek world, from Marseille in the west to Heraclea and Pontus in the east. Okay, here's the payoff.
Okay.
Besides the usual military and athletic contests, says Marrou, there were 3 others.
All right.
For eutaxia, philoponia, and euexia, which are...
What are those?
Those are good conduct, fondness for work, and vigor. These are like citizenship awards, citizenship trophies.
Right. This is perfect attendance.
It is.
Right.
Did you know that when I was in elementary and middle school, I received a number of, I don't want to be immodest, I received a number of certificates of, outstanding work in various disciplines.
Yes.
And a few times, here's my immodesty, I cleaned up pretty nicely.
Yeah.
I never got a citizenship award, though.
Oh, wow.
Can you believe it?
Color me shocked. Right.
I never got the autoxia, good conduct. I did get some philoponia, right?
Yeah.
Fondness for work.
Fondness for work.
And I don't know, elexia, vigor?
Vigor. How would this be? Yeah.
I don't know. You're crushed under a load of books, but they don't crush you completely?
Yeah, this strikes me as almost kind of everybody gets a trophy.
You think so?
I don't know. You know that the guys getting these awards when it compared to the guys winning it or killing
wrestling.
In wrestling.
That's right.
Not even close, right?
Yeah, apparently killing it and crushing it. Mm-hmm. I'm told those metaphors are gone now.
Oh, really?
Some of my younger students, one of them did a good job on something in Latin. I said, did he kill it? Did he crush it? Because it used to be all violent metaphors,
right.
Remember?
Right.
And the students told me, no, he cooked.
He cooked. Yeah,
you gotta
exactly.
say he cooked.
That's the. Do you know? My kids say that as well. Do you know the negative side of that?
No.
If you're not cooking, you're selling.
Selling?
Selling is to do poorly.
SELLING?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's not at all gorge.
not in the least, right?
Not in the least.
Right. So I would say that
Yes.
the wrestlers were cooking.
Okay.
And the fondness for work guy.
And the philoponia, and the elexia.
Selling. Right. I killed it.
Okay.
In middle school with I'd win the spelling bees.
Oh, you good.
Yes, but that did not impress the girls.
Did you get you probably got the good conduct award
probably,
too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect attendance, all that kind of stuff.
Speaking of perfect attendance,
yes,
it is time for the ads.
This episode of Ad Nauseam is brought to you by Ratio Coffee. Dave, this morning I got up.
Yes.
I had my grounds pre-made, ready to go.
Nice.
Machine, and I pressed the one and only button on my Ratio 8.
The 8?
Yep. It went through its stages. There was the bloom.
Right.
There was the brew.
Right.
And it was ready.
Nice.
It was fantastic.
I had a similar setup.
Yes.
But I didn't grind the night before. I ground this morning in my Barazza Encore grinder, which Mark also sells.
Yes.
I've been dialing it down.
Okay. What does that mean? What do you mean?
It means that the grind is more fine, less coarse.
Okay.
And so far, I haven't reached the point where it starts to overflow. So I'm doing good.
Okay.
Because I like a real strong coffee.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's so delicious in the Ratio 4.
Yeah.
A sleek, agile machine. The first small batch pour over that simulates an experienced, talented barista.
Yes, it does.
But you don't have to find a place for that person in your kitchen.
No.
Right? Imagine the inconvenience.
Unless it was like a wandering barista.
I suppose. But where would they park?
Yeah, exactly.
On the 4 a.m. knock to come in and get everything prepped? You can't do that.
Yeah, no, you can't. Right. So Mark Helwig and his company, Ratio, they offer these 3 wonderful machines. They have the 4, which Dave just mentioned. There's kind of the middle level, which is the 6. Yep.
Right. The Mama Bear.
Yep. And then they have the flagship, which is the 8, which is what I have in my kitchen.
Now, you started with the 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Great
it was stainless steel.
It was stainless steel.
And you got hooked on the Ratio that way.
I did, yep.
Then you decided to graduate to the 8.
I did, yes.
And now you also stainless steel, but walnut accent?
Walnut accent. It's a beautiful, it's a work of art. It makes everything in my kitchen just look that much better.
Yes, I think it's crate and barrel that has a linen finish.
Oh, yeah.
Ratio 8, a beautiful machine.
Yes.
It's really, really nice. And now the 4. So, listener, if you would like to score one of these machines, they're not cheap, but why would you want to have the important start of your day be cheap, right?
That's right.
This
exactly.
thing will last. It's a heirloom, as we like to say.
Yes, indeed.
Go to ratiocoffee.com/adnauseum and check out the wide array of products and drop one into your little grocery basket. Make sure you have your quarter on hand. And then, Jeff, what is the code that they need to enter?
Yes. Type in AN ratio 2025.
Okay. ANRATIO 2025.
Yep.
And what do they receive?
They will get $20 off of whatever machine they purchase.
That's incredible. Check it out. This episode of Ad Nauseam is also brought to you by Snackit Publishing.
Wait, Snackit?
Yeah, they publish books about potato chips and pretzels and Twizzlers.
That all sounds very fascinating, but I don't think that's a sponsor.
Did I get it wrong?
I think you got that wrong, Dave.
Okay. This episode is brought to you by the good folks at Hackett Publishing. How long have they been in business, Jeff?
They've been in business as long as I've been alive.
Wow.
It's 54, going on 55 years.
Wow.
Yep.
And that's a sign of longevity and of maturity in the publishing industry.
That's right.
So I suppose that leads to dull books, poorly jacketed, not nice to look at, and very expensive.
Well, some other companies might phone it in that way, but not Hackett. You're going to find affordable books. You're going to find attractive volumes and high quality throughout.
Have you been using any Hackett texts in the courses you currently teach?
Yes. We are right now in my myth class. We are halfway through Stanley Lombardo's translation of the Odyssey. It's got the wonderful kind of Earthrise photograph from the moon on the front, and it's fantastic.
Yes.
My students love it. Yeah, my students love it because it's very affordable, and you can't beat Lombardo's translation.
Definitely not. We just featured Lombardo last week for our Ovid vignettes.
Yep.
And you can't go wrong with this kind of material. So, listener, you want to build your library while you're enjoying beautiful art coming up and drinking great coffee, then, listener, you should go, please, to hackettpublishing.com. Hackett. We trust you are able to spell publishing. .com, and check out their wide array of offerings. Drop them into your grocery basket. And then, Jeff, what do they need to do?
They need to type in this coupon code. That's AN2025. So AN plus the current year. And that will get you two amazing things, 20% off your entire order, and...
Brackish Tang.
No, not Brackish Tang.
No?
Avoid the Brackish Tang.
Okay.
And you get free shipping.
Free shipping. Check it out. This
episode is also brought to you by a fairly new sponsor to the program. Are you ready, listener, for art that truly speaks to your story? Meet Della, a Tucson-based oil painter who captures the people, places, and moments you cherish with breathtaking detail. She's showcased her work in multiple galleries, illustrated books, and is often commissioned for standout projects. See her current works for sale at her website, dellachelpka.art.
How do we spell that, Jeff?
That is DELLACHELPKA.art.
Okay.
So to find her inspiration, visit that website. And then if you use this coupon code, Dave, Apelles,
Apelles, the name of the most famous Greek painter of antiquity.
That's right.
You'll get your special Ad Nauseam discount.
Yes.
A price that won't make you retch.
No.
And that is 10% off your order.
Check it out.
All right, Jeff, as we fire up the engine and continue on here, we're into the next section, which begins on 189, which Marrou entitles The Museum and Higher Scientific Education.
Yeah, why don't I read a bit here?
Absolutely.
At the other end of the scientific scale, we find a type of teaching that reached a very high technical level. This was at the museum in Alexandria, which we talked about.
Back to Alexandria.
Yes.
Myth-busting as best as we can.
That's right. The Lagid monarchy had founded a remarkable organization for scientific research in its capital city at the end of the reign of Ptolemy I Soter. As it was under royal patronage, it attracted not only poets and men of letters into the city, but also the most eminent scholars of the day, geometers, astronomers, physicians, historians, critics, and grammarians. These museum pensioners lived in community close to the palace. They had no taxes to pay and no other duties to perform, and they lived at the king's expense in luxurious conditions, with a promenade, exeges for their discussions, and a vast dining hall where they took their meals together.
Wow.
Sounds like a pretty good gig.
That sounds posh, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It sounds really, really nice. How does one get such a gig?
The closest thing that I've kind of rubbed up against something like this was when that summer I spent at the American Academy at Rome.
So it was like this, huh?
Well, for some of
you were eating at the Prytaneon?
There were dinners offered every night. That was kind of part of the deal. I had a kind of a small grant to do this, but there were on the location there were these houses that hosted these artists and sculptors and painters that had their own space and basically kind of this open-ended ticket
Complimentary massage. Hot towel for your face.
Everything.
Manicures, pedicures.
Right. So as I was reading this, it reminded me a lot of those kind of those genius grant people that were kind of flittering in and out of the academy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Marrou goes on and he says, I love this, odium philologicum, right, which is how people who love words tend to hate each other, is no new thing, and nobody familiar with any modern university will be surprised to learn that this corporate life was not entirely free from dialectical tension.
I'm shocked.
Which caused a certain amount of amusement in the city. And now I'm going to read some Greek, if I may.
Please.
So this is from the author Timon, and it is recorded for us by one Athenaeus. And it's recorded in his De Pnosophistai, which is the philosopher's banquet. So, Book 1, Section 22. Poloi de kata puknein aigupton, eo tethramenoi philosophusen, hoito museo ptenon oikein vasin. Which translates as...
in this populous Egypt of ours, there is a kind of birdcage called the Museum where they fatten up any amount of pen pushers and readers of musty tomes who are never tired of squabbling with each other.
So it's your typical faculty senate meeting, am I right?
Senate meeting or conference
break room.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that we make fun of this life too much, or just the right amount?
I think it's just the right amount.
Okay. You're still involved in that, right? CC has a faculty assembly at which you assemble.
I do. When I read this kind of stuff, I think more of. I think this is the exception, not the rule. But I've been attended paper presentations where in the Q&A, the arguments get so heated that these guys almost come to blows over interpretations of Euripides.
That's right. The proper placement of the particle da.
Right.
It clearly doesn't go there, and anyone who had half a brain, would realize.
Exactly. You think you're better than me?
That's right.
So, what's the famous quote that said that in academia the passions can run so high because the stakes are so low?
Oh yeah. Right. There's no hair so fine it can't be split.
Right.
Yeah. So that was Alexandria for you, and says Marrou, functionaries appointed by the king looked after the scholars' material needs so that they should have nothing to worry about and could devote all their attention to their studies. Mm-hmm. They had wonderful facilities for their work, botanical and zoological gardens, and their world-famous library with its annex, the Serapeum, a library unique in the history of antiquity for the number and quality of its books, not to mention the 24/7 chalupa stand.
Oh man, that was the draw.
That was the high point, wasn't it?
Yes.
No, says Marrou. The catalog drawn up by its third librarian, Callimachus, famous for his big book, Big Trouble, between 260 and 40 contained 120,000 volumes.
So yet another stat there. Remember in our Library of Alexandria episode, we talked about the varying estimates of
right.
So
Marrou's got to get his hand in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the museum in Alexandria. So I'm trying to think of a contemporary analog. I mean, all this stuff was great, right? They had the 120,000 volume library. They had someone to polish their shoes. They didn't have to pay taxes. But how was the Wi-Fi?
It was all right.
And could they get the code?
Yeah, right.
When you go to conferences today, right, this is kind of the first thing that they say.
Yep.
Because if people don't have their Wi-Fi,
it's all over.
It's going to look pretty messy.
Right. Now, in terms of like a modern analog, what this reminded me of is that Marrou goes on to say is that despite all of this, this wasn't designed. These guys weren't there to teach students.
No,
I mean people could come in and
pursue their own research.
You could maybe offer a fee and say, okay, you can sit in on this or whatever. But it was basically just a place for independent research.
Yeah,
and that reminds me a lot of these high-powered professors at larger institutions.
Yeah,
maybe teach one class a year.
Yes.
And the rest of it is spent on
doing something,
on producing a book or results, that kind of thing.
Well, the Ptolemies recruited a lot of people here.
Yeah,
you got Theocritus, who came from Sicily to write his Idylls, right?
Yep.
And you had Apollonius from Rhodes, who came and wrote his Argonautica. You had Eratosthenes, who was trying to measure the world, Callimachus, and so forth.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like the MacArthur Fellowship. You familiar with this?
Yeah, the Genius Grant.
The so-called Genius Grant. Yeah. $800,000, no strings attached award given to individuals across diverse fields who show exceptional creativity, promise for future advances, and the potential to facilitate future creative work.
There are no strings.
No strings.
They just cut you this check and say,
That's right.
Just go be a genius.
There's no application. You cannot apply or be nominated.
Oh, so they have to seek you out.
I was going to nominate you, Jeff.
Oh, man.
Recipients are selected by an anonymous and confidential selection process. So I'm sure there's no room for cheating. No strings attached, right?
Man.
It's paid out over 5 years in quarterly installments. I'd like to see them divide 800,000 by 5 evenly, but no reporting requirements or required outcomes.
Incredible.
So you could spend it all on coffee, chalupas, right?
Yeah.
And no one checks.
No one checks. Do you I'm trying to think.
Have I received one?
No, not that if you received one. I'm sure yours is on its way, Dave. But who are some people that have received these? I mean, I know about the MacArthur grant, but I couldn't this.
Mostly scientists, occasionally a poet, I think.
We'll get that. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can put Mark or Will or Ron, someone from the Corrigendum Committee, we can put on this, and they can supply us with a list of names, people who have received the MacArthur Fellowship.
I'd love for there to be at least kind of one guy who said, I'm spending this on chalupas.
That's right.
You don't expect anything. You're not getting anything.
Yep. And then on the top of page 190, we get a little bit of what you might call some insider's philosopher baseball.
Yes.
Can you take us through that a little bit, Jeff?
Yeah. Let me pick it up at the bottom, page 189.
Sure.
The museum was obviously a remarkable institution, but it had not appeared out of the void. It was simply a vaster and more official form of the kind of philosophical community created by the early Pythagoreans and copied by the Academy, the Lyceum, and at a later stage by the Garden of Epicurus. The actual name Museion had been used by the schools centering around Plato and Aristotle, which, as we have seen, were regarded as fellowships of the muses. If, as seems likely, Ptolemy Soter established the museum on the advice of Demetrius Phalereus, who took refuge at his court in 294, the Lyceum must have had a direct influence on the Alexandrian Museum, for Demetrius was the pupil of Aristotle's first successor, Theophrastus. So this connects it back to...
Okay.
To,
it all goes back to Plato and
Aristotle. Yeah.
Which goes back to Socrates.
Yes.
So he started this cascade, right, of the pursuit of literature and knowledge generally.
Yep.
Okay. So like you were saying about R1 institutions, right, Research One, the museum, says Marrou, was essentially a center for scientific research, not advanced education.
Yeah.
The scientists and scholars supported by the Lagids were not obliged to give any lectures. Nevertheless, they did teach. What do you think of this claim? This is Marrou. This is not him citing some ancient authority. He says, quote, "Good is self-diffusive, and knowledge has a natural tendency to spread. This is generally recognized to be one of human nature's fundamental characteristics. It was particularly strong in the Greeks." What do you think?
I mean, I underlined this passage because it's so strikingly Marrou breaking into the text. It stops being just kind of a historical
it's
record.
prescriptive, not descriptive.
Right, exactly. I don't know how I feel about this, right?
Is this how you think of your own teaching? I'm being very serious, not flip at all.
Yeah.
You're standing there in the classroom, you're teaching the young minds at CC about, I don't know, Shakespeare. You've taught on Shakespeare, right, for CC. You're teaching them about world religion and so forth. Do you think that the good of the knowledge that you are imparting is going to diffuse through them and from them through the rest of their lives? Or do you not tend to put such, I don't know, high aspirations on it?
Well, I mean, I think that's a very optimistic view. I mean, I like to think that the good that I do falls on fertile soil and it'll take root where it needs to take root. But the idea that it's kind of diffusing through all of my students and will kind of then cascade and ripple out into some kind of greater, wonderment. No, I'm not so sure.
So you would take this comment of Marrou with some skepticism?
Yeah, some skepticism. I thought it was. I don't think he needed to say this. He could have. His editor should have said, save that for a talk.
Okay. Well, to wrap up this section, bottom of page 190. As a matter of fact, says Marrou, inscriptions reveal the existence of other musea outside Alexandria, which functioned as universities. This was clearly so in Ephesus, where in the 2nd century AD there was a faculty of medicine with professors who had the characteristic titles of physicians of the museum, masters at the museum, the hoi apatu museion, or the hoi peri ton museu paidewetai. About Smyrna, we have fewer details, but the fact that the museum there had a jurist for its president at least once suggests that the record office had developed into a school of law, as it did later in Beirut. Finally, Museion is used in the 4th century by rhetors like Libanius and Themistius to mean simply a school.
So these things there were lots of these places scattered throughout the Aegean.
The famous ones would be, right, Alexandria, Athens, where Basil of Caesarea and his brother went to study, and Ephesus.
Yes.
So now, when these schools played each other in fall sports, when they duked it out on the gridiron, what were their mascots?
I think the Athenians, they were the owls.
Okay. Alexandria were the lighthouses.
The lighthouses or the mummies.
Or the coffins of Alexander. Something like that.
Yeah.
The coffins.
Ephesus? That's a tough one.
The Artemises?
Yeah, something like that.
Wouldn't have cut a very threatening, figure on the field, I wouldn't think.
I mean, not the Artemis of Ephesus was more kind of a fertility goddess.
Yeah, so she was a strange one.
But I mean, if it was old school Artemis with the bow and arrow,
yes,
now you're talking.
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
Right.
Well, I'm sure there was a certain sense of rivalry that went beyond just ideas.
Yes.
Are we ready for the third section?
I think we are.
Third and final, which is called
lack of any real technical education.
Okay. Right. So what's going on there?
Well, I mean, I think there can be. I think Marrou sums it up very nicely at the bottom of page 191.
Okay.
He writes, "The technician, like the scientist, learned his job in a very simple, archaic way, the way of personal relationship between master and pupil, craftsman and apprentice."
Okay.
You learn on the job.
So no formal education.
No.
Just attach yourself to someone who already does it well.
Right.
And learn it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of, what we know like during the Renaissance.
Yes.
You would, if you were an aspiring artist who had some talent, you would hook up with a master.
Correct.
And then you would learn the ropes.
And if you were someone like Michelangelo, you would outshine your master so that nobody can really even remember his name.
Exactly right.
Except specialists.
Yes, yeah.
I wonder if that's how the wandering hygienists learned their trade. You've got the belt with the different kinds of floss. You've got the packet full of different kinds of, toothpaste and so forth.
You got to find yourself a master of hygiene.
Correct.
And sit at his feet.
Interesting. So what about medicine? That comes next and, in fact, concludes the chapter, the teaching of medicine.
Yes. Marrou writes, to a certain extent, this was still true of medicine, which we know much more about because it was more widespread and better organized.
Interesting.
Greek medicine had made great progress and it played a big part in Hellenistic life. Besides private physicians, there were public physicians maintained by the city or the kingdom, and these formed a real health service directed by master physicians. So he goes on to say, he talks about how there were medical schools that were dedicated to teaching medicine, but for most of the other professions, it was much more kind of master and apprentice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So today, if you're a physician, right, the big flex is the Mercedes-Benz.
Is that what it is?
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. I became a doctor, but not that kind.
Yeah, me too.
And so my prescriptions are all the same, right?
Right.
read 2 of these and call me in the morning.
Exactly. And I drive a dented Honda Civic.
That's right. But what was the big flex in antiquity?
Oh, like what was the status symbol that should be picked up?
Yeah, if you were the doctor. Apparently it is that you went to Alexandria.
Okay.
That's where your bragging rights were, that you had graduated from the School of Medicine in Alexandria, not Johns Hopkins.
Okay.
But the center of all medical learning.
So in the Wall Street Journal rankings, Alexandria would be at the top. Yep.
Says Marrou, to this must be added the no less considerable work of the physicians of Roman times, especially Galen, who collected the work of many centuries. So he read all of Hippocrates, and then he added to it.
Yeah.
Quote, a mere glance at these voluminous works is sufficient to show that the Greek genius for teaching in full play. Their medicine was a genuine art, a techne, a body of doctrine that had developed practical rules into a system. There is no better evidence of the lengths to which this mania for systematization could go than the short Hippocratic treatises on deontology, ethics, i.e. the physician's attitude toward his patients. So this is all about bedside manner.
Yeah, exactly.
He says, quote, there is the curious treatise on the right way to behave. For instance, Peri Schemasunes, which a German scholar translated as Über den Chic. This contains a great deal of advice of extreme psychological subtlety on how to behave in the sick room, with rules carefully cataloged so that the student will find them easier to remember. Quote, upon entering, remember, 1, how to sit down, 2, how to arrange your attire, end quote. And then Marrou continues, the flowing drapery required special attention. The physician should not thoughtlessly take too much off of the patient all at once. He was also reminded to be dignified, brief, calm, etc.
So yeah, lots of that advice about not freaking out the patient.
That's right. Highly specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. My one of my worst anecdotes of interaction with medical personnel, since you asked, was when I was a graduate student. I had this terrible sinus infection, cold kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics, and I talked to someone who was an intern.
Mm-hmm.
So he was busy reading his Hippocrates, reading his Galen, figuring out,
How was he with his drapery?
Oh, excellent! Let me tell you. And I said, I got this terrible, terrible cold, and it just won't go away. Could I have some? I was in that suppliant position.
Mm-hmm.
Could I please have some antibiotics? And his response was, "No, I'm not going to give you any because I've got the same thing that you do, and I took it all weekend, and I took these antibiotics all weekend, and so far it hasn't helped."
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh my goodness!
So he should have been reading more about the deontology of dealing with patients.
Without a doubt,
it's really troublesome.
Yeah.
I figured at that point, the power relationship here is not equal.
Yeah,
I'm entirely at his mercy.
Yes. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. Indeed. Well, Jeff, we're about to wrap up this chapter. Can you bring it home for us?
Yes. Let me continue with Marrou towards the end here. But the teaching of medicine proper was mainly clinical. There was not much study of anatomy. This was always the weak point in ancient medicine, and dissection was comparatively rare, a matter of advanced research that never came into teaching.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
They never did any dissection.
Huh. I wonder if that was some kind of sacred or religious taboo
against it.
But I
don't know.
That they decided not to look under the hood. Yep. Let me finish up Marrou here.
Sure.
Judging by a fragment of a textbook in question and answer form that has come down to us on a papyrus, theory was reduced to a minimum, and the main thing was practice.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So, it's housed in a school, but still very much master and apprentice.
Yes.
Yep.
So no real technical education.
Yep.
Well, that brings us to the end of this chapter of Marrou.
Yeah.
There are 2 more chapters in this particular portion of the book. I think there are 2 more, and that deal with higher education rhetoric. Chapter 10, and then Chapter 11 is Higher Education Philosophy.
All right.
Those are chapters for another day.
Yes.
Jeff, why is it that we have to get out of here?
Well, do you hear that huffing and puffing and panting outside the door?
Huffing, puffing, panting, and banging on the door. I think there's some reason we have to exit the vomitorium.
Yes, it's this group. You were mentioning this group earlier.
Yeah, OSABL.
OSABL. That stands for?
I don't remember.
It's the
Organization for
Sprinting and Breathless Lecturers.
I think so.
That's right.
So these folks are tired of the peripatetics, the strolling and the lollygagging?
Yeah, they consider them lazy.
I see.
Right, and so
if they're going to lecture...
They lecture, but at like full tilt.
Breakneck speed. Right, so they get chugging along.
Yeah.
At the fastest they can possibly move, and then they spew out all of their knowledge and information.
Right, and so I guess their philosophy is like, if you want to learn from us, you better be able to keep up.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I suppose if you're not a very fast runner, there's no chance you could learn ethics or any of these
Nothing
topics.
like that, and they would probably think you don't deserve to.
That's right.
Well, at any rate, I don't want to mess with.
I
these
don't want to
guys.
mess with OSABL,
Yeah.
so we'll leave them be.
Yes. So, but before we go,
yes,
Dave, how can our listeners learn some Greek and learn some Latin?
Well, they should go, please, to latinperdiem.com. So currently, I am teaching Greek at the beginner level, the intermediate, and the advanced level. I've taken the last 30 years of my study and teaching of Greek and compressed it into a course called Moss Method that takes you from...
a neophyte to erudite.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
And I am absolutely convinced that there may be better instruction online somewhere. I don't know. That'd be immodest to claim otherwise. But I'm convinced there is no better value. The combination of a good price and really expert instruction, I think. Check it out, please. And you'll get a coupon code here. Enter this coupon code, 10+10PLUS, anywhere on the website, and get 10% off your entire order, one of our Greek courses, our Latin beginners courses, or one of our master classes. So please look into that.
Fantastic.
And Jeff, we need to thank some folks.
Yes, as always, our wonderful engineer, Mishka, turns this around so quickly.
Who is that?
She's the one that puts the gloss, the lipstick on this pig.
What were you saying? The gauzy filter?
The gauzy filter.
For the hot girl walk? Something I learned last time? That's terrible.
Isn't that terrible?
It's not gorge at all.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. So you've had to kind of, that phrase hot girl walk.
Stuck in the craw of my mind.
That's terrible. I know.
But she's done this now for 195 episodes.
Yes,
so expertly. Thank you so much, Mishka.
Yes. And how about this axe slinger? This Jeff Sheets, the guitarist.
Incredible.
Yes.
Shares your name, shares your interest in the instrument. The Thrill Seeker, which is the intro and outro music, and then Rush Hour for the ad, the bumper music. Thank you, Jeff, for being so generous. And check out his music if you'd like to. You can find his stuff on Spotify. You can find it on his website, Jeff Sheets, SCHEETZ.com.
Indeed, yes. And hey, listener, if you want a shout out, you got an idea for an episode, you got a corrigendum, do not hesitate to write to us.
Wait a minute. Yeah? We want the corrigendum.
Come on. We are humble enough.
From the Rons and the Wills and the intermediate marks.
The embryonic marks?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, we can take it. We can take it as irritating as it can be. We can take it. So if you have one of those, please write to Dave at adnauseum.com. Don't forget the V.
And write to Jeff at adnauseum.com. Do not forget the V. We have been receiving so many wonderful letters from listeners lately. It's really encouraging.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're trying to put together the 200th episode. The 200th episode is kind of a turning point. If you go back to episode 100, we did...
it's like a best of, right?
It was called Good Enough for Now.
That's right.
The Cheesy Clip Show.
Yeah. That's what
If you want to get in on episode 200, listener, this is what we'd like you to do. Record yourself. Everyone has a smartphone. Come on. Record yourself. The audio doesn't have to be high quality. Telling us in 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute. You can diatribe or soliloquize if you want to for up to 5 minutes. Record that and then email it to dave@adnauseum.com. Don't forget the V. We're going to put all these audio clips together and form them into episode 200. That is, what do you like about the show? What do you hate about the show? So on and so forth. And then Jeff and I will interact with your comments.
Yes.
Will there be any roasting?
I imagine there has to be some roasting.
Roasting of us or roasting of
I
those
imagine
who
a lot
send
of
stuff in?
these sound clips will be roasting us.
Okay, all right. So we would love to hear from you, and it would save us the work of putting together episode 200.
Please, yes.
You can help out.
Yeah, that would be great.
Please do that.
Yeah.
And Jeff, they should contact you, Jeff@adnauseum.com. Don't forget the V.
That's right.
If you'd like to contribute, you can go to the website, pick up a Quinokent, Dokent t-shirt or hat.
Yeah.
What is going to be episode 197?
We are going to cover a couple of these articles, which I'm very much looking forward to reading. One by Alexander Sauter called "Did St. Paul Speak Latin?"
Okay.
That sounds very
So
interesting.
this is a long deceased scholar. I think Suter died in the 1940s or something like that. Fascinating question. Did Paul speak Latin? And the second one?
From one Anne Mahoney, "The Forms You Really Need to Know."
Excellent.
Right. These the Platonic forms?
No. These are the grammatical forms.
Oh, okay.
So Anne Mahoney, just a little preview, has 2 PhDs, if I'm not mistaken. One is in either mathematics or computer science, and the other is in classics.
Man.
And she put that incredible genius to work on the corpus of Latin and Greek literature. And she boiled it all down to, if you want to get good at these languages, these are the ones you really have to spend your time on.
Yeah.
The other forms, yes, but don't put all of your weight on those because they're not as frequent. It's a brilliant article.
Sounds good. So if Paul indeed spoke Latin,
right,
Anne would have an opinion on which forms he probably should have been using. Gotcha.
That's how we'll connect them.
Right. Excellent. And Dave, you have our gustatory parting shot.
Yes, I do. And it's one by a Mr. Matthew Fort. He wrote a work called "Sweet Honey, Bitter Lemons. Travels in Sicily on a Vespa."
Okay.
That's an enchanting title.
Indeed.
I don't know anything else about Mr. Fort, but I would just like to warn the sensitive listener.
Yes.
This is a family show, but this is the first time, I believe, that we're going to mention the word bowels in a gustatory parting shot.
Hopefully maybe the last.
I hope so as well. But here it goes.
Yes.
Happiness, says Mr. Fort, happiness depends on sound sleep, orderly bowels, and regular meals.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.